I've been a bit shit lately with the updates on the Merc, purely because I've honestly been getting so determined to finish it that I've been like, oh bollocks to filming it, I'm just going to get things done. But I really need to start making more regular films for you guys, so yeah, here's the first one. And as you can hopefully see, most of the exhaust, this is all the pre-turbo stuff, the screamer pipes and the post-turbo downpipe, is all finished and wrapped. There's lambda sensor locations on for pre and post cat, although there's not any cats anymore, but there's provision for all 4 lambda sensors, so 2 for each downpipe as per standard. Also, that's the lambda sensor on the downpipe, which would be for the AFR gauge, which is obviously on the dash. This is the pre-turbo, where obviously the turbo sits, where the wastegates come off, and this is the section that joins to the pre-turbo pipe work. I don't know if I ever explained, or if I did, a lot of you might not have been watching this back then, but this is actually an old ATS diesel from America. It's their like turbo pedestal. I think it's for like modified power stroke diesels, I think. I'm not 100%. Basically, many years ago, I'm talking like at least a decade ago, I saw this with a Garrett GT35R bolted to it for sale on eBay by somebody that obviously had no idea what the turbo was, what this was, and I bought it just for the turbo, which I then proceeded to sell for like about 3 times what I paid for it, because it was almost brand new. And but this sort of turbo sort of stand I kept, because I thought, oh, you know, it'd be useful one day. And there was lots of things I planned to use it for, and I never actually got round to it. And in the end, it was ideal for this project. It's kind of what inspired this project, you know, having actually something strong to sit the turbo on, which is what it was designed for. As standard, it was a single undivided T3 flange. Now, as you can see, it's divided T4. So, as you can guess, I've quite highly modified this to make it fit, but the general stand is as standard. Well, here's the badge, you know. Hold on. Read that? ATS Diesel Performance, which is like big American diesel tuner. And yeah, this, I don't know if they even make this anymore, but this is like a pedestal for, I'm fairly certain at least, the Ford Power Stroke V8 diesels, where the turbo sits in the V. And this is for when you're getting rid of the standard setup and fit in a, well, something aftermarket, something more conventional. And yeah, I've repurposed it for the Merc. So yeah, all this is done. I've still got the rest of the exhaust post downpipe to wrap, but I've, well, to be honest, I've run out of wrap and run out of metal ties, so that's going to be a couple of days away. But I'll show you what else I've been up to, which is quite a lot. Hang on, let me shed some light on this. This isn't an engine oil cooler, it's for the transmission, because being an automatic and being the abuse it's going to get, the oil temps get hot, and hot oil on an automatic don't work so well. So it's a transmission oil cooler. These have got one as standard as built into the radiator, but it's tiny and it can only cool to as low as the radiator. So, you know, temps are always going to be about 85 degrees Celsius, which is a bit hot anyway, you know. So yeah, I replaced that with this, which that originally, I can't 100% remember what it's from. I reckon it's off a Renault 5 Turbo Cup car, a left-hand drive thing from somewhere in Europe, which I bought once upon a time and broke for bits. I literally bought it for the bits, and I reckon that was the oil cooler off it. It might be off my RX-7, I can't even remember, but whatever it is, it's like an 18-row cooler that's perfect for a transmission cooler. and the lines was part of it, I mated up the lines to the original with what's basically some welded and adapted, lots of messing about, sort of adapters with shit I'd lying around. I think they're like, I found a couple of oil feed bolts from some big hole set that happened to be the same thread as the oil cooler lines, or transmission cooler lines, and I just welded like a hose tail end that was the same size as the pipe work to that, to make basically a hose end fitting. Because don't forget, this setup, this whole car is about how fast I can go for how little money, so I weren't going to go and buy more fittings, and to be honest it would have delayed me, whereas I'm trying to get this done. So if I was going to wait a week for some fucking fancy fittings, or I make my own for no money, just for bits I'd lying around in the bloody MIG welder. So I've done that on both sides, and now yeah, oil cooler's hooked up and good times. You can't see it, and it's not very interesting anyway, but the car now has a fuel return line, because it's normally a returnless system as standard, but due to the way I have to fuck about with the regulators and stuff, it's a lot easier to have a return set up. The oil return is now done as well for the turbo. I'll show you that. That there is the oil feed. It's weird how it comes out like that. You'd think, why the fuck have I done that? But the reason is because you have to, because this is the belt run. The belts run either side of that, so you can't have a conventional, you know, neat 90. This has to come out to avoid the belts. It's a weird setup, but that's just what you got to do on these M113 engines. There's literally no way around it, because the belt run for all the, you know, the ancillaries at either side of that port, and that is the perfect port for it, because that's the actual Mercedes oil pressure test port. So you know, it is literally the port to use for some oil pressure. So it looks a bit odd, but it causes no issue, because now nothing can hit it. If you went 90 degrees, you know, you'd be, well, you would be hitting auxiliary belts. There's no avoiding them like that. So this way is the best way. So yeah, that runs through into the car. This here is the oil return, which goes back to the sump down there, which I've shown you how I did the return on the last video. This is all the air pump business. It's all blocked off, blanking plates. This is weird. This here is a hole. I don't know what it's for. It's only on one side of the head on these M113s, but it's a hole that goes right the way through to the other side of the head. Literally, it's got a hole in its head. You can put a wire through there and it come out the other side. Not got a clue why Mercedes did that. They must have had a reason. They must have designed something for it that didn't get used, I don't know. But the head, only on this bank, has got a hole, nothing else connected to it, so nothing comes out of it. But there's a hole from one side to the other. Bizarre. All the fuel lines. This is fuel feed is obviously standard. It never had a return, so I made, again with lots of messing about with fittings, it's got a return now. Because as standard, the OEM fuel regulator is part of the fuel pump at the back, and because I got to do a weird rising rate setup, same as Kleeman did on the supercharged conversions they do and all that, it's gonna have two regulators in the bay when it normally had none. So now you've got out the rail to the first regulator, out the first regulator to the weird Vortec rising rate thingy. I don't know if, I won't call it finished, but if I'm lucky, by Friday this might be running, maybe driving, but most likely running at least. So yeah, it's quite almost exciting now, because I'm gonna get to use it. tell you another thing I will show you now, because I can imagine people going, oh, why are you running like normal hose? Because my oil feed to the turbo, I haven't got any pictures of it inside the car at the moment, connected to the turbo, because it's all disconnected due to me doing all the wrapping. But this here is the oil feed, and unlike the normal braided hoses most people associate with oil feed, this is just a rubber high pressure oil capable hose. And most people would be like, oh my god, that's stupid, that's dangerous, you need it braided because of, you know, rubber would melt in the heat or some such bollocks. But what most of these people don't realise is braided hoses aren't like some kind of solid metal hose, they're rubber inside. They're exactly the same as this inside. Let me get some hose and I will show you exactly what I mean. Right then, this, my friends, this one here on the left is expensive as fuck. Earl's, or one of the big brands, hose. This is like a Mamba sort of, you know, least special, but again, people run this kind of thing, no worries. And despite people thinking these kind of hoses are some kind of heat proof fucking, you know, whatever magic solid metal things, they're far from it. They're rubber inside. The difference is, whereas a standard hose has got, you know, quite thick with sort of reinforced multi-layers of rubber, this is a very thin unreinforced rubber pipe with wire reinforcement around the outside. That's all it is. Inside is just a thin as fuck, like less than half as thick as a normal plain rubber one pipe with no reinforcement, and it's just got a metal sheath around the outside. So no, it's not more heat proof. If anything, it's maybe less heat proof because metal likes to absorb heat. So potentially this may be more likely to bloody melt, I don't know. But either way, thinking you need metal hose to like fucking stop your shit melting or whatever is ridiculous. It makes it less likely to accidentally cut it on something, but what are you going to cut it on? Nothing very likely, unless you're fucking unlucky or got some rubbish setup. But melting is probably the biggest problem, and these don't help you for melting. I mean, this is a Chinese one, and while that one was rubber, this is like clear plastic, see-through thin plastic, like, you know, what you'd wow, I don't know, almost like a you know, a pop bottle type plastic. Thin clear plastic, looks like a bit of old, you know, shitty hose pipe. Look, that's all it is. But that's what's inside your braided hoses, folks. So yeah, they're nice and they're pretty, and they prevent you know, abrasion knackering up your hoses, but they ain't gonna stop heat at all. And that is the people's very common belief, because they're just plastic or rubber hose inside a metal sheath. That's all there is to it. So unless you know, unless you're somewhere where it's going to get rubbed against stuff like under the car or whatever, there's nothing wrong with normal rubber hose, as long as it's high pressure stuff that can handle it. So there you go. What else can I show you? So yeah, this is where we are right now, and you know, honestly, all the fuel lines, all the oil lines complete now. I've got a bit of wiring to do, not much thankfully, because I'm rubbish at wiring. Obviously I've got to put all this back together. I've got to wrap the rest of the exhaust. I've got to fit a new throttle body, which I've ordered. I think it might have arrived, but I've not got it here because obviously I fucked up the last one. And yeah, just little bits and pieces. Oh, I'm going to, there's some modifications to the actual automatic gearbox, which I'm going to do. and I'm going to service it as well and change the oil for something a bit unusual, but I know it works because we tried it on Thomas's Expedition vehicle, and that's also got the same gearbox and it works a treat. So yeah, a few transmission mods to come, all this bolting on, and yeah, we're mostly there. Do you reckon I get it done by the end of the week? We've got Tuesday, say 4 days left. This is the first day pretty much over, so we will see. Looking forward to adding up how much this has all cost me in total, because I had so much of the bits. I do a double tally. I will do what it cost me, because I owned most of the bits already, so it's cost me fuck all, and I'll do a what it would cost somebody else by remembering what these parts cost me new, or what you could have picked them up for. Because like I already own the turbo, but I do know that turbo actually only cost me 180 quid. I mean, it's easily worth 500 quid, but it's having a good eye for things. I routinely was picking them up. That wasn't like bargain of the century. It's just knowing where to look. So yeah, that counts as 180 quid. If even on the worst scale, on my scale, it's going to count for nothing because I already owned it. It was just kicking around. But anyway, we'll worry about that when the car's complete. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment, and wish me luck, because maybe in a few days this motherfucker might even run. So yeah, that is where we are at the moment. I'll tell you what we're doing soon is having a massive tidy up. Once this is gone and this is gone, we're gonna have a humongous tidy up because we've got so much shit here, it's unbelievable. And we've ordered new lights and all sorts for in here, so we're gonna paint the place. And yeah, so one day relatively soon this place is gonna look much more, well, neater than it is now. Me and Thomas are both messy fuckers, so and honestly I tidy up every night, but every time I film this it's before I've tidied up, so it's all looking a bit of a state at the moment. But yeah, we're gonna give it a new lick of paint, new lights, because some of the lights are knackered, and yeah, just make the place much more video friendly, because we're both doing quite a lot of video stuff, so might as well make it nice for you, like, hey. Anyway, I'm going to go. I'm not going to be on camera today because I massively need a haircut, so I look a fucking state. So yeah, see you next time, which, depending on how well I get on, might even be tomorrow. Alright, ta-da.